I was cutting the grass for my 52-year-old neighbor when she urgently whispered, "Come inside now." The sun was climbing higher in the sky, making the morning feel warmer than it should for early June. Birds chirped lazily from the trees, and a soft breeze rustled the leaves. Everything seemed calm, normal, almost too quiet for a suburban Saturday morning. He glanced at Mrs. Halbrook's house from the edge of the driveway. It was an old two-story home, painted a soft yellow, with white shutters that looked freshly polished. Flowers lined the path leading to the front door. Mrs. Halbrook herself, a 52-year-old woman with a kind face and sharp eyes, often sat on her porch with a cup of tea, waving at neighbors or chatting with anyone who passed by. She was friendly but private, never someone to invite strangers into her home. Alex had been helping her with small chores for a few months now, mostly mowing the lawn and trimming bushes. It was a way to earn a little money and stay busy. He liked these quiet mornings, even if they were sometimes repetitive. There was a rhythm to the work, the kind of rhythm that let your mind wander. Today, however, was different. He was halfway through trimming the edges of the yard when he noticed Mrs. Halbrook standing by the window, peering out through the curtains. Something about the way she was watching him made Alex pause. Normally, she would wave or nod if she wanted his attention. This time, she didn't move. Her expression looked tense. Alex shrugged it off, thinking she was just focused on something inside her house. He continued mowing, the engine of the lawnmower humming steadily under his hands. The sound was almost comforting, like a metronome keeping time with the quiet morning. Then something made him freeze. Mrs. Halbrook's hand lifted slightly, beckoning him to come closer. But it wasn't the casual gesture of a neighbor asking for help. It was urgent. Her fingers trembled ever so slightly and her eyes were wide, searching. Curious and a little worried, Alex switched off the lawnmower. The sudden silence felt strange, even heavier than the usual calm of the morning. He walked toward the porch, the wooden steps creaking softly under his weight. "Mrs. Halbrook," he called gently. She turned to him, her voice almost a whisper, trembling as if speaking too loudly could attract danger. "Alex, come inside." "Now," she said, her eyes darting to the sky for a brief moment. Alex frowned. "Is something wrong?" he asked, stepping carefully into the house. The familiar smell of fresh bread and old wood greeted him, but it couldn't mask the tension that hung in the air. Mrs. Halbrook shut the door behind him quickly, locking it with a loud click. Alex felt a shiver run down his spine. Something about the sound was final, decisive, like she had made a choice she couldn't reverse. She gestured for him to sit at the kitchen table. Alex obeyed, still unsure what was happening. "Alex, you have to listen to me very carefully," she said, her voice still low but urgent. "Something is here, something we didn't expect." Alex frowned again. "Something? Like what? A burglar?" He tried to lighten his tone, but Mrs. Halbrook didn't even smile. "No, not a person," she said. Her eyes were sharp now, filled with something Alex couldn't quite name. Fear, yes, but also determination. "I mean something alien." Alex blinked. He wasn't sure he'd heard her right. "Alien, like from space?" "Yes," she said, nodding slowly. "I've been watching them for a long time, secretly. Most people don't know, but they're real, and they're here now." Alex laughed nervously, shaking his head. "Mrs. Halbrook, come on, you can't be serious. Aliens? You're joking, right?" She didn't laugh. Instead, she leaned forward, placing her hands flat on the table. "I'm never joking about this. These beings, they are unlike anything we've ever faced. They don't care about humans, our laws, or our cities. They feed on energy, life energy." Alex felt his stomach tighten. He had always loved science fiction, watching movies and reading books about aliens and space battles. But he had never imagined it could actually happen here, in his quiet little neighborhood. His heart started to beat faster. "Mrs. Halbrook's voice lowered even more, almost a whisper. "I didn't want you to know yet, but they're outside. They've been watching. I can feel it in the air. Something is coming." Alex looked toward the window. The morning sun shone brightly and nothing seemed unusual at first. But now that he thought about it, there was a faint hum he hadn't noticed before, almost like a vibration in the air, very low, hard to detect, but unsettling. What, what do we do? He asked. Mrs. Halbrook reached into a drawer and pulled out a small device. It was about the size of a large smartphone, but it glowed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with the strange vibration Alex felt earlier. This, she said, is something humans have developed in secret for emergencies like this. It can interfere with their senses, temporarily. Alex stared at it, unsure what to say. You're saying we can stop them? For a little while, yes, she said, but it's dangerous. They are clever, far more advanced than anything humans have. And yet, she paused, a small smile breaking through her tension. Humans are unpredictable. That's what makes us dangerous. They don't expect us to fight back the way we can. Alex swallowed hard. Fight back? How? Mrs. Halbrook didn't answer immediately. Instead, she walked to the window and peered out. Her eyes narrowed. Alex followed her gaze. Across the street, the wind seemed to shift strangely, making the trees sway unnaturally. He thought he saw a shadow move, a dark, smooth shape that didn't belong. They're scouting, she said. They're trying to learn about us, what we know and what we can do. That's why they're here now. And if we don't act fast, her voice trailed off. Alex felt a cold knot in his stomach. He had never felt so alive and terrified at the same time. Every instinct in him screamed that something huge was about to happen. Mrs. Halbrook handed him the device. I need you to be ready, she said. We don't have much time. And Alex, trust me, humans have a strength they don't understand yet. I've seen it before, and now it's your turn to see it too. Alex nodded, gripping the device tightly. It hummed lightly in his hand, warm and oddly comforting. A sudden loud vibration shook the house. The humming from earlier intensified, now almost deafening. Windows rattled. Alex stumbled slightly, holding onto the table for support. They're here, Mrs. Halbrook whispered almost to herself. And this is only the beginning. Alex's mind raced. He had imagined aliens in movies with grand battles in faraway galaxies. But this was real. This was happening in his neighborhood, in his life. He glanced at Mrs. Halbrook. She looked calm, resolute, and ready. And despite the fear gnawing at him, Alex felt a strange surge of courage. If humans had a hidden strength, if unpredictability and cleverness were weapons, maybe, just maybe, they had a chance. The hum outside grew louder, almost like a heartbeat, steady, menacing, unstoppable. Shadows flickered across the walls as the sunlight shifted. Alex could see the faint outline of something moving outside, something large with smooth alien shapes he had no name for. Are you ready? Mrs. Halbrook asked, her hand hovering over another switch on the device. Alex took a deep breath, nodding. Ready. She smiled briefly, a mix of pride and relief. Then let's see what humans are really capable of. Outside, the quiet morning had vanished. The world they knew, the calm, safe, predictable world, was over, and in its place, something new, strange, and dangerous had arrived. Something they would have to face, together. The humming outside grew louder, vibrating through the walls, the floor, even through Alex's chest. It wasn't like anything he had ever heard. It was deep, almost alive, like the sound of a giant heartbeat, slow and heavy. Shadows shifted unnaturally in the sunlight streaming through the curtains. The yard outside, once quiet and familiar, seemed different. Mrs. Halbrook moved quickly, yet calmly, around the kitchen. She was older, but there was a strength in her movements that Alex had never noticed before. She checked the windows, the doors, even the smoke detectors, as if she had done this 1,000 times. Alex, she said, her voice low but steady, we don't have much time. I need you to understand who we are dealing with. Alex held the small, glowing device tightly in his hand, still unsure if it was a weapon, a shield, or something in between. Just tell me, what are they? What do they want? Mrs. Halbrook motioned for him to sit. She poured herself a cup of tea, though her hands shook slightly. They are called Zarathi, she began. I've been tracking them for years secretly. They are not like anything humans have ever encountered. They feed on energy, life energy. They don't care about cities, politics, or armies. They take what they want and move on. Alex's stomach tightened. Life energy like people. Yes, she said simply. Like humans, animals, even plants to some extent. But their main interest is intelligent life. We produce a type of energy they can't get anywhere else. And once they take it, that's it. There's no coming back. Alex's mind raced. He had always loved science fiction, but this wasn't fiction. It was real, right here, and it was coming for them. They've been hiding, Mrs. Halbrook continued, her eyes scanning the windows. They've been observing humanity for decades. Most people think we are alone, that the universe is quiet. But they are everywhere, silently watching, studying us, waiting for the right moment to take what they need. Alex's hand tightened around the device. Why now? Why here? Mrs. Halbrook's face darkened. Because we are unpredictable. We are clever in ways they don't understand. We think in ways they cannot simulate. They expect humans to act according to logic, to patterns they can calculate. But humans, we break patterns. We adapt. We improvise. That scares them. That's why they are here. They've finally realized we can fight back. Alex swallowed hard. Fight back how? We don't even know what they look like. Mrs. Halbrook gave a small, almost grim smile. You will see soon enough, and you will understand why humans are dangerous. A sudden vibration shook the kitchen again, stronger this time. The windows rattled and the humming grew into a low roar. Shadows moved along the walls, twisting and stretching in ways that made Alex's stomach churn. Outside, the sky seemed darker, though the sun was still shining. They are close, Mrs. Halbrook whispered, moving toward the back door. She placed the glowing device on the counter and pressed a hidden button. A faint, blue energy pulse radiated from it, filling the room with a soft light. The shadows outside seemed to pause for a moment, as if sensing the pulse. Alex watched, amazed and terrified. What did you just do? They can't see or feel this like humans, Mrs. Halbrook said. It interferes with their sensors, just for a little while, enough for us to prepare. Alex glanced at the device. It pulsed rhythmically, almost like it had a heartbeat of its own. So we can stop them. For a few minutes, she said. That's all we get. We need to act fast. Alex followed her to the living room. The walls seemed to vibrate with the hum, the air thick with tension. He could barely make out the shapes outside. They were tall, smooth, and dark, moving in ways that didn't seem natural. Alex's heart pounded in his chest. They're scouts, Mrs. Halbrook said quietly. They are testing the house, trying to figure out if it's safe to enter. That's why we have to act quickly. They don't expect humans to resist. That's our advantage. Alex looked at her, incredulous. Resist? How? Mrs. Halbrook opened a hidden compartment in the wall, revealing several small devices similar to the one he was holding. Humans are clever, she said. We think creatively, improvise, and adapt. These devices, they are just one part of it, but sometimes creativity and courage are all you need. Alex felt a strange mixture of fear and excitement. This was nothing like he had imagined. No video game, no movie, no storybook had prepared him for this. And yet, there was something exhilarating about facing the unknown, something raw and alive. They're moving closer, Mrs. Halbrook said, pointing to the window. Alex saw a shadow pass quickly, smoother and darker than any animal, then disappear. Stay calm, she said. Humans survive when we think clearly. They expect panic. Don't give them that. Understand their pattern and break it. Alex nodded, gripping his device. I think I can do that. Mrs. Halbrook smiled faintly. I know you can. Suddenly, the humming outside shifted, higher and faster, almost like it was aware of their presence. The air felt charged, like static electricity before a storm. Alex's stomach tightened and he felt sweat on his palms. They're learning, Mrs. Halbrook whispered. Quickly. That's why we have to be ready. Alex glanced around the room. Everyday objects, tables, chairs, lamps, suddenly seemed full of possibilities. He imagined using them, moving them, creating obstacles. It felt strange, almost like a game, but this was no game. One mistake could cost everything. Mrs. Halbrook gestured toward the back door. "We need to move outside carefully. They can't see everything perfectly. Not yet. But we have to act as one. Humans survive together." Alex followed her, heart pounding, every step measured. The yard outside looked the same as it had that morning, but the atmosphere was charged, heavy with an energy he couldn't understand. Shadows shifted unnaturally. The birds had gone silent. "Alex, do exactly as I say," Mrs. Halbrook instructed. "Use the devices when I signal. Move unpredictably, trust your instincts. Above all, remember humans are clever. We adapt. We survive." Alex nodded, gripping his device tightly. He felt fear, yes, but also a strange excitement, a spark deep inside. This was a challenge unlike any he had ever faced. And somehow he knew that if humans could survive this, they could survive anything. A soft vibration ran through the ground, and Alex saw movement at the edge of the yard. Something dark and smooth slithered between the trees. His heart raced. "They're here," Mrs. Halbrook said calmly. "But they don't know what we can do yet. They underestimate us. That's our advantage." Alex tightened his grip on the device. "Then let's show them." The shadows outside paused, almost as if sensing their resolve. The humming grew louder again, almost deafening. The air seemed to thicken, pressing against their skin. And yet Alex felt something new, something powerful. Courage, determination, humanity. Mrs. Halbrook looked at him, eyes sharp and steady. "Remember this, Alex, they think we are weak. They think we follow patterns, but we don't. We improvise, we adapt. And that is why humans survive." Alex felt a surge of determination. He didn't know what would happen next, but he knew one thing: he would face it, with Mrs. Halbrook, with the humans around him. And no matter what, they would fight back. Outside, the shadows shifted again. The hum pulsed through the ground. The world had changed and there was no turning back. But Alex was ready. And humanity was about to show the galaxy what it was capable of. The yard seemed quiet at first, but the moment Alex stepped outside, he realized it wasn't quiet at all. The air vibrated with a deep, low hum that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Every hair on his body stood on end. The shadows shifting between the trees and over the fence were no longer distant. They were closer, larger, more deliberate. "Mrs. Halbrook held the small, glowing device tightly, her face calm but tense. "They're scouts," she said. "Their first attempt. If we do this right, we can stop them before they understand our house, or us." Alex nodded, gripping his device. He had no idea if it would even work, but he trusted Mrs. Halbrook. She had always seemed ordinary, the kind of neighbor who smiled politely and baked cookies. But now she was a warrior in her own right. From the corner of his eye, Alex saw the first shadow move faster, almost gliding across the lawn. Its shape was tall, smooth, and dark, with limbs that didn't bend quite right, as if physics itself had been slightly altered for its body. It was unlike anything Alex had ever seen. "Remember," Mrs. Halbrook whispered, "unpredictability. They cannot predict humans." Alex pressed the button on the device. A pulse of blue energy radiated outward, filling the yard with a shimmering glow. For a moment the shadows hesitated. The hum faltered. Then the scouts paused, almost frozen, as if their senses had been scrambled. "Now!" Mrs. Halbrook shouted. She darted forward, using a metal rake from the garden as a makeshift barrier. The nearest scout stumbled slightly, its smooth limbs jerking in an unnatural rhythm. Alex felt a rush of adrenaline. He realized the device wasn't just a distraction. It was an amplifier of human creativity. He grabbed a nearby hose and swung it at the approaching shadow. Water sprayed, hissing as it made contact with the alien surface. The scout recoiled, sliding backward across the grass. "They don't expect that," Alex muttered, heart pounding. The creatures were tall, intelligent, and frightening, but somehow slow to react to human improvisation. That gave them an opening. Mrs. Halbrook moved faster than Alex had ever seen her. She dodged another scout, hitting it with a garden stool. The scout shuddered, its form rippling like liquid metal. Alex realized it wasn't flesh. It was something else, something that could mimic movement but not human unpredictability. The yard became a battlefield. Shadows twisted and lunged, and Alex and Mrs. Halbrook countered with everything they could find: tools, water, and the blue pulses from their devices. The aliens hissed and shrieked, sounds unlike anything humans could produce. Their movements were fast and dangerous, but not perfect. They didn't understand fear, hesitation, or creativity, qualities humans could exploit. Alex ducked under a sudden swipe from one scout, his shirt torn slightly. He felt a thrill of fear and excitement, adrenaline coursing through his veins. "They're fast but not smart enough," he shouted to Mrs. Halbrook. "No," she yelled back. "They are smart but not human smart. They calculate but they don't feel. They can't improvise." A scout lunged at Alex again. He rolled to the side and swung the device at it, sending another pulse. The creature shivered and fell back, temporarily disoriented. Alex realized that their ingenuity, improvisation, courage, quick thinking was their real weapon, but the victory was temporary. Another hum, deeper and louder than before, reverberated from the sky. Alex looked up and froze. A massive shadow blocked the sun. The first strike had attracted attention. "It's the command ship," Mrs. Halbrook said, her voice steady but low. "They've seen our pulse. They know we're here. We can't stop them all. We have to survive long enough to learn their weaknesses." Alex felt fear gnawing at him. The command ship hovered above, enormous, dark, and silent except for the hum that shook the ground. From it, more scouts began to descend, their forms sliding smoothly over the lawn and fence. "We have to move strategically," Mrs. Halbrook said. She pointed to the garage. "Follow me. We can use obstacles. Humans think in 3 dimensions, they don't move in straight lines." "That's our advantage." Alex followed, ducking under a low branch. He realized that everything around them, tools, plants, furniture, could be a weapon or a shield. He tossed a bucket at one descending scout. It crashed into the creature, momentarily stunning it. "Good, Mrs. Halbrook shouted. "Keep thinking, keep moving." They moved through the backyard like dancers in a deadly, chaotic rhythm. Alex used his instincts, reacting faster than he ever had in his life. He realized humans were like no other creatures in the galaxy. We could learn in seconds, adapt, and create something entirely new from ordinary things. The scouts were strong, but they weren't humans. They didn't anticipate hesitation, fear, or sudden cleverness. And that was what humans had in abundance. "Alex, over here," Mrs. Halbrook shouted. She pointed to a patch of uneven ground near the fence. Alex sprinted, kicking dirt and stones at the advancing scouts. Each step was calculated, each movement unpredictable. They were learning as they went, using the environment to their advantage. One scout lunged at Mrs. Halbrook, but she rolled under a fallen branch, using the momentum to strike it with a heavy wrench. The creature fell with a thud, its form quivering unnaturally. Alex realized something important. These creatures were physically powerful, but they were limited by logic. Every strike, every movement, every trick they used bought them time. And humans thrived on thinking outside the lines. The command ship above emitted a low, vibrating pulse, scanning the yard. Alex could feel the air pressure shift. They were being measured, analyzed. But the humans were unpredictable, their movements random yet coordinated. For a moment the command ship faltered, scanning again. "Alex," Mrs. Halbrook yelled, "we have to distract it. Throw everything we can at it, force it to see patterns it doesn't understand." Alex grabbed a bucket of garden stones and hurled them at the ship. They bounced off harmlessly, but the act, combined with the device pulses, created chaos among the descending scouts. Some collided, others tripped over obstacles, all temporarily disoriented. The pulse of energy from their devices synchronized, a rhythm that seemed to shake the air itself. The scouts staggered, some retreating slightly, unsure of how to proceed. Alex could see that their fear wasn't the same as human fear. They were confused, calculating, unable to adapt fast enough. "This is it," Mrs. Halbrook shouted. "Push them back even for a moment. Humans are clever, never forget that." Alex surged forward, grabbing a garden hose and spraying the nearest scout. Water hissed against its surface, and the creature recoiled, giving him a chance to kick a garden chair into it. He felt exhilaration mixed with terror. Never had he felt so alive. The first wave of scouts was faltering. Their confidence, their superior technology, their expectations, they were all being challenged by the simple, unpredictable nature of humans. Alex realized the truth of Mrs. Halbrook's words. Humans were dangerous because they could improvise, adapt, and fight creatively against overwhelming odds. But then the command ship pulsed again, stronger this time. The ground shook violently, knocking Alex off balance. The air hummed with electricity and he felt a strange pressure against his chest. "They're learning," Mrs. Halbrook shouted, grabbing him and pulling him behind a large bush. "We can't stay here much longer, but remember, humans survive by thinking differently. We are unpredictable. That's our advantage." Alex nodded, gasping for breath. He felt every muscle in his body tense and alive. Fear, adrenaline, and determination mingled inside him. He wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. He was learning what it truly meant to be human. The shadows were regrouping, moving more cautiously now. The pulse of energy from their devices continued to disorient the scouts. For the first time, Alex saw hesitation in the creature's movements. They had underestimated humans, and it was costing them. "This is our chance," Mrs. Halbrook whispered fiercely. "We force them to retreat even if only for a moment. Then we plan. Then we strike smarter. Remember, they think they are the hunters, but we are unpredictable." Alex gritted his teeth. His body ached, his heart pounded, but he felt alive in a way he had never known. The sun shone down, shadows twisted and flickered, and the command ship hovered above, immense and powerful. And yet humanity had shown its first strength. The first strike hadn't defeated the aliens entirely. It hadn't stopped the invasion. But it had shown them something they hadn't expected. Humans were dangerous. Humans could fight back. And even in the quietest neighborhood, ordinary people could become extraordinary warriors. Alex looked at Mrs. Halbrook. She was breathing heavily, her hands gripping her device, eyes sharp and alert. "We did it," he said, a mix of relief and exhilaration in his voice. "For now," she corrected, her gaze returning to the shadows. "But this is only the beginning. Humanity survives because we think, adapt, and fight. We are unpredictable, and tomorrow we will show them even more." Outside, the humming continued, the shadows twisted, and the command ship remained. But Alex knew something important. Humans were not helpless. They were clever, courageous, and ready, and whatever came next, they would meet it head-on. The first strike had been won, but the war was just beginning. The night fell fast, but the neighborhood was no longer quiet. Windows were lit by hurried movements, doors opening and closing, and the occasional clang of metal on metal as makeshift defenses were set in place. Alex, exhausted but alert, moved alongside Mrs. Halbrook, surveying the yard. "They'll come back, Mrs. Halbrook said, her voice calm but firm. "They always do, but we can't just wait. Humans survive because we act, we adapt, we strike when they don't expect it." Alex nodded. His arms ached from the day's exertions. His palms were raw from gripping devices and tools, but he felt alive in a way he never had before. Fear still pulsed in him, but now it was mixed with determination. They had faced the scouts and survived. Now it was time to turn defense into offense. "Do we have a plan?" Alex asked. Mrs. Halbrook smiled faintly, a hint of pride in her eyes. "The plan is simple. We hit them where they think we can't. They rely on technology, logic, and calculation. Humans rely on creativity, courage, and teamwork. We use that. She led him to the garage, where several devices like the one Alex had been holding were lined up on a workbench. Hoses, ladders, buckets, wires, and garden tools were scattered around. Alex realized the neighborhood wasn't as ordinary as it seemed. People had been preparing in secret, improvising weapons and defenses from everyday objects. "They know we are clever," Mrs. Halbrook said, handing Alex another device. "But they don't know how clever we can be." Alex strapped the device to his chest and felt its warmth hum against him. He could feel the energy pulsing in rhythm with the vibrations outside, like it was alive, feeding off his own determination. "Good," Mrs. Halbrook said. "Now we move." They stepped outside cautiously. The yard was quiet, but the faint hum in the air reminded them the enemy was near. Shadows flickered at the edges, but for the first time, Alex noticed something. The scouts were hesitant. They were scanning, measuring, calculating, and humans were unpredictable. That hesitation could be exploited. "Alex," Mrs. Halbrook whispered, pointing to the street, "neighbors are joining us. Look." Across the block, lights flickered on in houses that had seemed ordinary just hours ago. People appeared at windows, holding tools, flashlights, or homemade devices. It was as if a signal had been sent. Humans were ready to fight. Alex felt a surge of pride. He had never seen humanity look so united. Despite fear, despite uncertainty, everyone had decided to act. That was what made them dangerous. That was what made them human. "Remember," Mrs. Halbrook said, "coordination is key. Distract them, confuse them, and strike from unexpected directions. Use what you have. Humans survive together." Alex nodded. He moved toward the edge of the yard, scanning the shadows. The scouts were circling, trying to find weaknesses, probing for openings. Their movements were fast, almost too smooth to follow, but not flawless. Humans could exploit that. Suddenly, a scout lunged from behind a tree. Alex rolled to the side, sending a bucket at it. The bucket struck the scout, tilting it backward. He followed up with a pulse from his device. The scout shivered, unsure, and stumbled into the street where another neighbor had set up a trap. Alex realized something important. The aliens were strong, but they were predictable in certain ways. They reacted to patterns. Humans could break those patterns in ways the aliens could not anticipate. Improvisation was the weapon that no technology could counter. From across the street, Mrs. Halbrook shouted commands, coordinating movements like a general leading her troops. Alex moved with her rhythm, trusting instincts, improvising attacks and defenses in real time. He felt alive, powerful, and part of something bigger than himself. The first wave of scouts fell back under the relentless, chaotic assault. Water, tools, and pulses from the devices disrupted their movements. They didn't understand humans, they never could, and that confusion worked in humanity's favor. But then, a louder hum shook the ground. Alex looked up and froze. The command ship hovered above, massive and dark, with lights scanning the neighborhood. More scouts began descending, faster and in greater numbers. "They are learning," Mrs. Halbrook said, her eyes narrowing. "They won't make the same mistakes again." "We have to adapt faster." Alex felt a surge of fear. The command ship seemed unstoppable, and yet he remembered what Mrs. Halbrook had said. Humans survive because they are unpredictable. They improvise, they adapt. "Alex," she shouted, "distract them, make them hesitate." He ran forward, throwing hoses, buckets, and stones in rapid succession. The aliens faltered, their movements jerky and uncoordinated. Every strike, every improvised obstacle, every sudden shift in position forced the scouts to recalculate, slowed them down, and gave humans a fighting chance. Across the street, neighbors were doing the same. Improvised devices, tools, and teamwork created chaos for the descending scouts. Their calculated movements were disrupted by unpredictable humans who acted on instinct, courage, and creativity. Alex felt exhilaration and fear together. Each moment was a life-or-death decision. Every misstep could be fatal, yet each successful maneuver made them stronger, more confident. Humans were dangerous not because of brute force, but because of their ingenuity. The command ship pulsed again, sending vibrations through the ground. Some scouts were knocked over by the sudden shock, while others hesitated, scanning the humans in confusion. The device pulses synchronized with the chaos below, amplifying the effect. "This is it," Mrs. Halbrook shouted. "Push them back. Show them what humans can do." Alex sprinted, rolling under a low branch, and hurled a bucket at a descending scout. The creature staggered, its smooth, dark form shimmering and quivering. He followed with a pulse from his device. The scout fell, unable to move. Humans were striking from every direction, coordinated yet unpredictable, improvised yet precise. The command ship above pulsed, scanning, trying to anticipate the next movement. But humans couldn't be predicted. Humans could improvise, adapt, and strike in ways no machine could calculate. Alex realized a truth that filled him with both awe and pride. Humans were dangerous not because of strength, not because of technology, but because of creativity, courage, and adaptability. Every person in the neighborhood was part of the same rhythm, chaotic, unpredictable, and unstoppable. The scouts began to retreat slightly, confused and disoriented. Their movements faltered, and for the first time, Alex saw hesitation in their behavior. The aliens had underestimated humans, and that hesitation could be exploited. "Alex," Mrs. Halbrook said, grabbing his arm, "follow me. We can force them to retreat further. Humans survive by working together. This is our advantage," he nodded, heart pounding. He followed her across the yard, improvising with tools, hoses, and anything he could use. The scouts stumbled, collided, and faltered under the relentless, chaotic assault. The command ship above pulsed again, stronger this time, shaking the ground and rattling nearby windows. But humans did not falter. They adapted, improvised, and pushed back. Every step, every strike, every pulse from the devices reminded the aliens that humans were not predictable, not weak, and not easily controlled. Alex felt a surge of exhilaration. He was part of something greater than himself, a neighborhood, a community, humanity itself, facing a threat that seemed impossible, and yet surviving because of ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. "This is our victory, Mrs. Halbrook shouted, though her voice carried both relief and caution. "Not complete, but enough to show them. Humans fight back." The scouts retreated, confusion evident in their movements. The command ship hovered above, massive and intimidating, but it paused, scanning, reassessing. Humanity had proven something. Even in a quiet suburban neighborhood, humans could be dangerous. Humans could improvise, adapt, and survive against odds that seemed insurmountable. Alex looked around. Neighbors were cheering softly, exhausted but alive. Every house had contributed to the chaos, every human had improvised, and together they had pushed back the scouts. Mrs. Halbrook placed a hand on his shoulder. "Remember this," she said, her eyes sharp and proud. "This is what makes humans dangerous. Not technology, not numbers, not strength, but courage, creativity, and teamwork. We survive because we adapt. We survive because we fight in ways no one expects. And tomorrow, we will strike even smarter." Alex nodded, feeling a mix of exhaustion, pride, and exhilaration. The night was far from over, the aliens still hovered, and the battle was just beginning. But humanity had shown its first strength, and the aliens would remember it. Outside, the humming continued, shadows twisted, and the command ship remained. But Alex knew one thing: humans were not helpless. They were clever, courageous, and ready, and whatever came next, they would meet it head-on. For the first time, Alex felt it deep in his bones. Humans were dangerous. Humans survived, and humans would fight back. The sun had barely begun to rise when the neighborhood was alive with activity. The night's battle had ended, but the war was far from over. Alex wiped sweat from his forehead, exhaustion tugging at his muscles, but determination kept him moving. The scouts had retreated, but the command ship remained, hovering silently, massive and threatening above the houses. Mrs. Halbrook stood beside him, her glowing device strapped securely to her chest. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp, scanning the horizon. "They've learned from last night," she said. "They know we fought back. They know we can be dangerous. But that means they'll make mistakes. That's our advantage." Alex nodded, gripping his own device tightly. "Then we strike first." "Yes," she said. "But this time we do it together, not just us, everyone. Every neighbor, every person who's willing to fight. Humans survive because we cooperate, because we improvise, because we adapt. And today we show them what that means." Across the street, the neighbors were already preparing. People moved with purpose, carrying tools, hoses, and improvised devices. The quiet suburban street had become a fortress of human creativity and resilience. Alex felt a surge of pride. This was not just a battle, it was humanity showing its true strength. "Listen carefully," Mrs. Halbrook said, gathering everyone in a circle. "The command ship will try to control them, but humans don't follow patterns. We improvise, we confuse them, we fight smart. Everyone has a role. Everyone must act unpredictably. Are we ready?" A chorus of nods and murmurs of agreement answered her. Alex looked around and realized something incredible. Ordinary people, facing something unimaginable, were prepared to fight back. And not just fight, they were ready to win. The command ship pulsed, a deep vibration rolling across the ground. Shadows moved below it, descending from the sky faster and in greater numbers than before. But the humans didn't panic. They moved with purpose, improvising, adapting, striking in ways the aliens could not predict. Alex sprinted across the yard, dodging a descending scout and hurling a bucket at another. The creature staggered, and he followed with a pulse from his device. It quivered and fell. His heart raced, adrenaline pumping through him. Humans were dangerous. He could feel it now, in every beat of his heart, in every motion. Mrs. Halbrook moved with precision, coordinating attacks, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Alex, over there, distract them," he obeyed, darting between shadows, improvising with garden tools and hoses. Every move was unpredictable. Every strike disrupted the aliens' calculations. For the first time, Alex saw hesitation in their movements, confusion in their sleek, dark forms. The command ship pulsed again, sending a shockwave through the street. Windows rattled and dust fell from the eaves, but humans didn't falter. They adapted. They improvised. Alex realized something profound. Humans survived not because they were the strongest, not because they were the smartest, but because they could think, adapt, and act in ways no one could predict. That unpredictability was their greatest weapon. From across the street, a neighbor fired a makeshift device into the air. It exploded with a bright flash, disorienting several descending scouts. Alex seized the moment, sprinting forward and hitting a scout with a heavy watering can. The creature fell, quivering and immobile. Mrs. Halbrook shouted commands, moving among the neighbors, coordinating, improvising, ensuring every person contributed to the chaos. The command ship above pulsed again, stronger this time, scanning, analyzing, trying to anticipate their movements. But humans were unpredictable. Humans adapted. Alex felt a thrill unlike anything he had ever experienced. Fear and excitement mixed into a sharp, clear focus. He was alive, more alive than ever, part of a force that was greater than the sum of its parts. Ordinary people had become extraordinary warriors. The command ship pulsed once more, but this time the humans were ready. Using the devices, pulses, and improvisation, they created a wave of interference that scrambled the aliens' sensors. Scouts collided, fell, and retreated. The aliens were struggling to maintain order, their calculations failing in the face of human unpredictability. Mrs. Halbrook turned to Alex, her face lit with determination. "This is it," she said. We push them back even for a moment, and we show them that humans cannot be controlled. That's our power." Alex nodded. He charged forward, throwing stones, swinging garden tools, and activating his device in rhythm with the others. The combined pulses created a wave of energy that seemed to ripple across the street, disorienting the aliens even further. Neighbors followed, striking from all directions, improvising, adapting. Each move was unpredictable. Each strike was calculated yet chaotic. Humans were a storm the aliens had never anticipated. For a moment, Alex felt a strange clarity. He understood something essential about humanity. Fear could be turned into strength, creativity could be turned into strategy, and unpredictability was a weapon no machine, no alien, no force could fully counter. The scouts retreated, faltering, confused, unable to coordinate. The command ship above pulsed one final time, scanning, struggling to understand the chaos below. And then, slowly, it began to ascend, retreating into the sky. Alex could hardly believe it. The aliens were leaving. Humanity had survived. Humanity had fought back, and won at least for now. The neighborhood erupted in quiet cheers. Exhausted neighbors hugged, smiled, and laughed, relief mixing with pride. Alex felt a wave of emotion wash over him. They had faced something unimaginable, something powerful, and they had survived because they had adapted, improvised, and fought together. Mrs. Halbrook placed a hand on his shoulder. "Remember this, Alex," she said, her eyes sharp and proud. "This is what makes humans dangerous. Not weapons, not numbers, not strength, but courage, creativity, and the will to survive. We survive because we think, we adapt, and we fight in ways no one expects, and the universe will remember that." Alex nodded, chest heaving, exhaustion mixing with exhilaration. He looked at the neighborhood, at ordinary people who had become extraordinary warriors, and realized something incredible. Humanity had a strength the galaxy could not calculate, could not predict. The sun rose higher, casting long shadows over the street. The command ship was gone, but the memory of its presence remained. The aliens had underestimated humans. They had assumed obedience, predictability, and weakness. They had been wrong. Alex felt a surge of pride. He was part of something greater than himself, something that no alien force could fully understand. Humans were dangerous, humans survived, and humans fought back in ways the universe would never forget. Mrs. Halbrook smiled faintly. "This is only the beginning," she said. "They may return, others may come, but now they know one thing: humans are not to be underestimated." Alex looked at her, feeling a mixture of awe and determination. "Then we'll be ready," he said. "Yes," she said. "We will always be ready, because humans survive. And when humans survive, we triumph." The neighborhood, once quiet and ordinary, was alive with movement, energy, and pride. People cleaned, repaired, and prepared, their spirits unbroken. Alex looked at the horizon, knowing the battle was not over. But one thing was certain: humanity had proven itself. The aliens had been challenged, confused, and defeated, if only for a moment. And in that moment, Alex understood the true power of being human. It was not strength, technology, or numbers. It was courage, creativity, adaptability, and a will that could never be broken. Humans had survived. Humans had triumphed. And the universe had been warned. Alex stood in the yard, the glowing device humming faintly in his hand. He looked around at the neighbors, the damaged but resilient houses, and the quiet street now filled with a new sense of purpose. For the first time, he felt the weight and wonder of humanity. Ordinary people had faced the extraordinary and survived. They had shown the universe that humans were unpredictable, resourceful, and unstoppable when pushed to the edge. And in that realization, Alex knew something fundamental. Whatever the future held, whatever the aliens or the universe might throw at them, humans would endure. Humans would fight, and humans would always triumph. The command ship may have been gone for now, but the story was far from over. Alex smiled faintly, feeling a thrill run through him. Humanity had awakened. The fight was just beginning, and the galaxy had just learned a crucial lesson. Humans were not to be underestimated. The sun shone brighter, the streets slowly returning to normal, but everything had changed. Humanity had shown its strength, and nothing, no alien, no force could take that away. Alex took a deep breath, feeling the hum of the device against his chest, and whispered to himself, "This is only the beginning, but we can survive anything." The horizon was vast, the sky open, and humanity had emerged victorious. For now.